Hey guys, it's Adrian here, the Canadian in a t-shirt, and today I'll be breaking down what is a credit score and how to improve your credit score in 7 steps for Canadians. These strategies will be targeted towards Canadians, but the same principles apply in the United States. These 7 strategies will help anyone build their credit score, even if they have no credit history. Say you're a student or a recent immigrant. Also, these steps can be achieved entirely on your own. You do not need to rely on anyone else. So I won't be discussing things like piggybacking in this video. So with that, let's jump into what is a credit score and why should I care? A credit score is a measure of how reliable you are with your credit and how risky it would be for someone to lend you money. Having a high credit score means that you're more likely to repay your debts. And so you'll have a higher chance of being approved for mortgages, loans, and credit cards. Your credit score is a number between 300 and 900, with 900 being the best. In America, the maximum credit score is 850, but in Canada, the max is 900. Different institutions have a different view of what is a good score, but this is the general consensus. Anything above 780 is considered excellent. Very good is between 720 and 780. Fair is between 680 and 720. Below average is 600 to 680. And anything below 600 is considered a poor score. If you have a credit score above 700, you have a strong record of being good with your credit and paying off your debts. And so you'll be approved for most credit cards, loans, and mortgages. But if you have a poor score, say 550, you'll be considered higher risk. And so you might not get approved for a loan. And if you do get approved, they will probably charge you a higher interest rate to make up for this higher risk. Plus, they won't be willing to lend you as much money as they would to someone with a strong credit score. But your credit score doesn't only come into play when you're borrowing money. It's kind of like your driving record. It's a general metric of your financial reliability. Quite a few employers will check your credit score when you apply for a job. If you have a poor score, it might hurt your chances of getting that job. Likewise, if you're trying to move into a new house or apartment, the landlord will often check your credit score. If you have a great score, you're more likely to pay your rent on time, and so the landlord is more likely to choose you as a tenant. Having a high credit score is incredibly important, but it does take time to build. So it's important to always follow these 7 steps at any stage of life. Step number 1 is to check your credit score. This is so important because the first step in solving a problem is realizing that you have one. In Canada, there are 2 main credit bureaus, and each one will calculate your score a little differently. The 2 bureaus are Equifax and TransUnion. You can request a credit report from Equifax and TransUnion directly, but they will charge you a fee for every request. Instead, I suggest you use a free service to check your credit score, and I recommend Credit Karma and Borrowell. Credit Karma gives you your credit score calculated by TransUnion, and Borrowell gives you your score calculated by Equifax. TransUnion and Equifax calculate your score a little differently. And so you actually have 2 different scores, which might have a pretty large discrepancy between them. When you apply for a loan, you don't know if the lender will use your Equifax score or your TransUnion score. So it's always important to check both of them. So if you sign up for both Credit Karma and Borrowell, you'll have all of your bases covered. Both of these services are totally free. They make their money by suggesting or advertising credit cards to you based on your spending habits. Both of them are very similar. You'll see your overall credit score, a graph showing your score changing over time, and your credit report, listing all the loans and credit cards that you have on file, and a list of all the inquiries you made when you applied for a new credit card or for a new loan. This credit report is what you really want to pay attention to. You want to make sure that there are no mistakes in your report, and mistakes happen all the time. Your credit report might mistakenly say that you missed last month's payment, or it might include a car loan that you never took on. These mistakes are hits against your score, and if you never call to correct them, they'll continue to hurt your score without you knowing it. That's why it's so important to check your credit score regularly. You don't have to check your score every day, but make a habit of checking every few months to see if your score is increasing, and if there are any mistakes, call Equifax or TransUnion and they will correct it, and then you'll see a huge bump in your credit score. Also, there is no downside of checking your credit score on Credit Karma or Borrowell. Every time you check your credit score, it's considered a soft inquiry, and this does not affect your credit score at all. Step number 2 is to stop paying with cash and start using a credit card. When you pay with cash or debit, you don't get any benefits at all. You're just spending money, and this isn't helping you build your credibility. Instead, if you use a credit card, every single time you make a purchase and every time you pay your credit card bill in full, this will increase your credit score. And this makes sense. When you're using a credit card, you're basically using borrowed money. But if you use this borrowed money responsibly and you pay back your loan every month, you're proving that you're reliable, and so your credit score increases. Plus, if you spend $10,000 a year in cash, that's just $10,000 down the drain. But if you spend $10,000 a year in credit cards, you'll earn between 2% and 4% in cash back. That's $200 to $400 in free money. Check out my past video on the top 5 no-fee cashback credit cards in Canada. These are credit cards designed for low-income individuals and for people with low credit scores. So click the pop-up at the top right to check that video out. If you have a higher income and you spend a lot of money, then check out my top 5 premium cashback credit cards in Canada with an annual fee. These cards offer higher cashback rates up to 4%. So if you spend a lot of money, this higher cashback rate makes up for the annual fee. I do have to give a big warning though. You have to control your spending. One of the advantages of using cash is that you can't spend more than you have. But with a credit card, it can be easy to spend until you've maxed out your credit limit. You must keep track of your expenses and make sure that you are only spending what you can afford. My mindset is to use my credit card as if it was a debit card. Even if my credit limit is $10,000, I set my own monthly limit to $1,000 because I know that's how much I can afford to spend every month. For those of you who are starting off with no credit history, say you're new to the country, you might not be able to get approved for a regular credit card. And so you should start off by applying for a secured credit card. A secured credit card works the same way as a regular credit card, but you have to provide an initial deposit before you can start spending money. So if you get approved for a secured credit card with a $1,000 limit, you will have to pay them a $500 or even a $1,000 deposit before you can start using it. This deposit is used as collateral to prove that you're trustworthy, and this money is fully refundable. Once you cancel your card and switch to a regular credit card, you'll get this initial deposit back. And if you're a student, there are tons of credit cards tailored just for you. I'll be releasing a video of my top 3 student credit cards in Canada very soon. Using a credit card is the best way to start building your reputation. But now, let's look at exactly how your score is calculated in order to maximize your score. Equifax and TransUnion use similar numbers to calculate your score, but this is the breakdown that Equifax uses, taken from Borrowell's website. You can see that the biggest chunk of your credit score, with 35%, is your payment history. And this is step number 3. Always pay your bills on time and in full. If you get nothing else from this video, drill this into your head. The best way to increase your credit score is to always pay your bills on time. This includes your car loan payments, mortgage, internet bill, phone bill, student loans, utilities, and your credit card bill. If you are late or you don't pay your full statement balance, you will pay huge late fees, even up to 25% for credit cards. But your credit score will also take a huge hit. Even if you only miss a single payment, your credit score could drop by 90 points. That's huge. That's why it's so important to regularly check your credit report for mistakes. Also, if you miss a payment, that hit will stay on your report for up to 6 years. When it comes to credit cards, always pay your monthly balance in full. But if you absolutely can't, then pay as much as you can. At the very least, pay the minimum payment listed on your statement. If you only pay this minimum amount, you'll still be charged the enormous 25% interest on the debt you owe, but at least your credit score won't take a hit. Also, if you know that you won't be able to pay your bill in time, don't just ignore it and hope for the best. Give them a call and ask if you can get an extension before the due date. If you've been a loyal customer for years and you have a good history of making your payments, the credit card companies will be understanding and they'll be willing to extend your due date by a week or 2 without hurting your credit score. There have been times when my credit card bill was due on Wednesday, but I didn't get paid until Friday. So I called the credit card companies ahead of time and explained to them the situation, and they let me pay a few days late. It didn't count as late payment, it never showed up in my credit report, and it didn't hurt my credit score at all. The second best thing you can do to boost your credit score is to decrease your credit utilization. Your credit utilization makes up 30% of your overall score, and you want to keep this utilization amount as low as possible. Credit utilization is the percentage of the total available credit you have that you have already spent. Just because you have a credit card with a $10,000 limit does not mean that you should be spending this full amount. In fact, to increase your credit score, it's best to keep your credit utilization below 30% for every single credit card. So if you have a credit card with a $2,000 credit limit, but you've already spent $1,000 this month, then you've already used up 50%. At any given moment, you want this number to be below 30%. Of course, at the end of the month, you will pay off your statement balance in full, bringing your utilization down to 0. But until you make that payment, your utilization is still sitting at 50% for a whole month, and that is hurting your score. One way to fix this is to request for an increase in your credit limit. If your credit limit increases to $5,000, you still owe the same $1,000 amount, But now you're only using 20% of your available credit, and this increases your credit score. Whenever your credit card company offers to increase your credit limit, accept that offer. Don't take this as an invitation to spend more. Keep your expenses the same, but now you have far more available credit, and so your utilization is significantly better. Another thing you can do is use more credit cards. That way, you can spread out your purchases among multiple cards. Instead of having one card with a high utilization value, you'll have 2 or 3 cards with a low utilization value, and so your credit score will increase considerably. I use a combination of cards to max out my total cashback, as I described in my past videos. I use one card for groceries and bills, one card for restaurants, one card for foreign purchases, and one card for everything else. In this way, my monthly expenses are spread out between multiple cards. On top of that, if I increase my credit limit on these cards, each card will have a tiny utilization amount, less than 10%, and that significantly increases my credit score. The next biggest contributor to your credit score is your credit history, and that accounts for 15% of your score. This basically means that your score increases the longer that you've had credit. It takes time to build up your credit score. It won't happen overnight. The one thing you can do to improve your credit history, do not cancel old credit cards. If you have 2 credit cards, one you just got last year and one you've had for 5 years, the one you've had for 5 years contributes far more to your credit score because over those 5 years, that card has proven that you are a reliable customer. If you cancel that old card, you'll lose a lot of the benefits you've gained over the years. Plus, now your total available credit has instantly decreased, and so your credit utilization has instantly increased, and that will hurt your credit score. Basically, you should never cancel an old credit card. If you've had it for more than 2 years, keep that card and use it for a purchase every few months just to keep it active. If that card doesn't have an annual fee, there is no drawback to keeping it open. The only reason you should ever close a credit card is if it comes with an annual fee, and if that fee can no longer be justified. Let's say I had a credit card with a $50 annual fee, which gave me 2% cashback on groceries. But now, I signed up for a better credit card that gives me 4% cashback on groceries, like I discussed in a previous video. There is no reason to ever use my old card. The new one is better in every way. And my old card is still costing me $50 a year in fees. So in that case, it is worth canceling that old card, even if it does hurt my credit score by a little bit. Another way to prove that you are responsible with credit is to show that you can handle multiple types of credit. Having a good mix of credit is far less important than the previous 5 steps, but it still does contribute 10% of your overall score. This basically means that it's good to diversify your forms of credit. So instead of just having one credit card, it's good for your credit score if you also have a car loan, mortgage, student loans, and a personal loan, as long as you can make the payments for each of these loans. Also, having monthly phone bills, internet bills, and utilities will further boost your credit score. The final factor which contributes 10% of your credit score is credit inquiries. Remember in step 1, I said that every time you check your credit score on Borrowell or Credit Karma, you are performing a soft inquiry, and this does not hurt your credit score at all. You could check your credit score every minute of every day and nothing would happen. But if you do a lot of hard inquiries, this will hurt your credit score by a bit. A hard inquiry is performed every time you apply for a new credit card, apply for a mortgage, or apply for a loan. If you make 1 or 2 hard inquiries in a month, you'll barely notice it. For example, last month, I applied for a new credit card. That's a hard inquiry, but it only dropped my credit score by 2 points. But if you apply to 10 different credit cards over the course of a week, that's a red flag that maybe you're just desperate for money, and that will probably hurt your credit score by 20 or 30 points. It's still not a lot, since inquiries only make up 10% of your total score. One thing to note, if you're buying a house or a car, you're likely shopping around for mortgages or car loans. If you make all of these applications within a span of 2 weeks, the credit bureaus will consider all of these applications as a single hard inquiry. And so your score will only drop by 2 or 3 points. So don't be afraid to shop around for loans, but be strategic and try to time all your applications within a 2-week window. If you watched my previous video, you know that I love applying to credit cards to take advantage of their generous sign-up bonuses. And if I don't want to keep the card, I cancel it to avoid the annual fee. But I would suggest that if you're planning on applying for a mortgage or a loan or looking for a new apartment within the next 3 months, then you can't afford to take any hits on your credit score. And so don't bother applying to any new credit cards until you secure that loan. But if you're living life normally, you're not buying a house soon, and you're not planning on any big life changes in the next few months, then I say apply to those credit cards and take advantage of those sign-up bonuses. Your credit score might drop by 3 or 4 points, but that shouldn't affect you at all. And you'll earn yourself $200 to $300 of free bonus money. So there you have it. Those are the 7 steps to improve your credit score in Canada. Check your credit score regularly for mistakes, ditch the cash and make all your purchases with a credit card, pay all of your bills on time every month, that's the most important one. Keep your credit utilization below 30%. Never cancel old credit cards unless they come with an annual fee. Don't be afraid to hold multiple forms of credit, and try to limit the number of hard inquiries you make. If you follow these 7 steps, you will be increasing your credit score month after month, and it's just a matter of time before you reach that perfect 900 score. Thanks for watching, guys, and be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you found this video helpful. Every thumbs up and comment really helps me build this channel, and hit that bell icon to be notified of my new videos every week. And if you'd like to follow me on Instagram or Facebook at Canadian T-shirt, click the link in the description box below, or click the links on my homepage. Be sure to tune into my next video where I'll be breaking down what is a drip and how you can use a drip to automate your investment growth. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of the Canadian in T-shirt. Bye guys.